Cinnaboo, everybody, and welcome to the 2025-2026 National Hockey League regular season, and welcome to the official first episode of the HabWrap, your friendliest and funniest source for anything and everything Montreal Canadiens. My name is Harry Rice. I am your host tonight, and as always, let's talk some Montreal Canadiens. So the season again debuting tonight. Unfortunately, not going so well for the Montreal Canadiens after the first game of the year. But it's just the first one. There's 81 more that have a possibility of being won by the Canadiens. So, as always, as it seems for the past 5-6 years, we opened the season against the Toronto Maple Leafs. This year we were in Toronto. Last year, I believe we were at home in the Bell Center. Lot of interesting questions surrounding this team. How is Noah Dobson going to adapt to playing on a team that has actual offense? Can Samuel Montembeault follow up the season he had last year with another solid starting goaltender season? Will Lane Hudson be able to follow up the rookie season, Calder rookie winning season that he had last year? Will he be able to improve on that, or will he fall into a bit of a sophomore slump, as some people seem to think that he might? Plenty of questions. How good is Yvon Demidov, really? Can Kirby Dach, Patrick Laine, can these guys stay healthy? Well, those questions will be answered further down the line, but for right now, we've got the first game of the year down. And for those of you who are new here, how we do things, at least how I've done things on my previous Habs podcast, this is basically the same thing except no visuals and slightly revamped. New title, basically. We go through the lines for both teams. I do my little game summary, what my notes for the game. I do the stats for the Canadiens, and then we work our way on out of here, try and keep it nice, compact, in a nice little half-hour segment. So, with that being said, what were the opening lines for the Canadiens, you ask? Well, I've got them for you. Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, Newhook, Kapanen, Demidov, Bolduc, Doc Gallagher, and Laine, Evans, Anderson were up front. Gooley, Hudson, Matheson, Dobson, and Jack-Eye Carrier were on the blue line. Sam Montembeault gets the start in net for the Canadiens in this first game. Jakub Dobeš, of course, will back him up. He is already been confirmed to get the start tomorrow in Detroit for the second game of the year. The opening lines for the Maple Leafs were Nyes, Matthews, Michelli. Of course, with Marner being gone, they needed somebody to replace him on that top line, and they said, nah, not Nylander. Let's put a guy who has a career high of 20 points up there. McMahon, Tavares, Nylander, Dakota Joshua, Max Domi, and Nick Robertson. Lawrence, Waugh, and Yarncroke. That is not Joshua Waugh, that is Nick Waugh, formerly of the Vegas Golden Knights. McCabe, Tanev, Riley, Carlo, and Ekman, Larson, and Benoit were on the blue line, while Anthony Stolarz would get the start in net for the Maple Leafs, and Caden Primo backs him up fresh off of waivers with Joseph Woll taking a personal leave. Before the game, the only note I had was, it's finally time, new season, here we go. I was super, super excited, of course, to get the season underway, as I think 99% of hockey fans were. So the Leafs had a nice tribute to Ken Dryden before the national anthem. That was really nice to see. I imagine for the fourth game of the year, which is our first home game, I imagine we're going to do a really good tribute to him the way we did with Guy Lafleur and plenty of other legends that have since moved on. Leafs crowd was quiet as hell for the player introductions. That was kind of surprising, but then again, used to Montreal, we do everything big and bold and brass. Toronto does things like belongs in the trash. Matheson ends up gives the puck away early on. McCabe gets a chance in the slot, but that's blockered away. There's a bad turnover by the Habs, leads to another Leafs chance. Both of these in the opening minute. My apologies for the yawning. I did not get enough sleep last night. Riley has a shot, but Monty stays with it. And the Leafs score right off a face-off 59 seconds in. Bobby McMahon scores to make it 1-0 Leafs. It's a tip shot. McMahon gets the tip, I should say. Montembeault just had no chance on it. A minute in, McMahon gets that from Nylander, and again, Tavares won the face-off. Jack-Eye has a shot. Gallagher lightly bumps into Stolarz, and there's a very small scrum. You know what? Surprisingly, for a team like Toronto that has a lot of grindy guys in their bottom six, Domi, Lorentz, Yarncrow can kind of get into it. So can Joshua. And a lot of physical defensive defensemen. Not a lot of scrums tonight. There really was not that many. I thought there could have been a fight. Maybe Domi and Jack, I might drop him at some point. But with Pozzetta being a healthy scratch, I don't think he was mentioned in the player introductions even, actually, funny enough. But, actually, no, I think he's in the AHL, actually, so that would explain it. But, I was surprised there weren't as many scrums as I thought there would be. I thought that there could have been a couple scrums, maybe a fight or two. Thought the game would have been a little more physical than it ended up being. It was a pretty good game, though, actually, between both teams. Carrier and Tavares tumble with each other. Tavares then shoves down Carrier. No penalty. Habs press with their top line. Some nice hustle. Matheson holds a puck in. Great skating to tire out the Leafs. Caulfield gets a shot, but he just can't lift it. Leafs eventually clear. Teams exchange some icings. The Habs lead the shots 4-3 4 minutes in, so plenty of shots early in the game. Line then gets called for a hook. That was a bit soft, I thought. Roy. Hey. Waugh, actually, goes after Line for some reason, so Leafs go to a power play. Anderson has a burst shorthanded, but a backhand gets held. And then we score as the Leafs push. It's a turnover. Oliver Kapanen races down and just buries it with a beauty of a wrister in the right circle. That's an unassisted goal. 5:39 into the first period. Unassisted for his first National Hockey League goal. Love to see that. Great confidence with the kid. He earned a spot after out of training camp. Good on him. He's the second line center, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah. After the goal, Habs get a clear. Newhook then gets a shorthanded shot, but that's just wide. Gooley then sends it all the way down. The Habs 1-for-1 on the penalty kill tonight. A great penalty kill and a really bad power play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, if I can say so. Suzuki has a burst, but that shot gets gloved. Nice burst off of a turnover. Stolarz stole this game for the Canadiens. There were 3 or 4 chances that he saved that he really shouldn't have. There were another 2 or 3 that we'll get into that the Canadiens just missed wide on. This game honestly could have ended 5-3, excluding the empty netters. Spoiler, could have ended 5 or 6-3 for the Canadiens. This was a really good game by Stolarz, and both teams again played well. But there were just a couple chances that the Canadiens should have buried, and probably do on any other team in the league more than likely. It's just unfortunately just bad luck tonight. Gooley then needs a hit from behind. Thankfully he was fine. Habs press, good passing and vision. Slafkovsky bats one off the mask of Stolarz. I say batting. We were watching the Blue Jays and Yankees game after the Habs game ended before Oilers and Flames started, which I really want to go watch, and I'll probably be doing that right after I record this pod. That puck nearly gets lost in traffic, but the Leafs do clear. Both teams get with some hits. It felt like the tension was building up, but it really dissipated into the second period. I think it really only lasted for the rest of the first. There were a few small moments in the third, but unfortunately the tension building up just wasn't really there. Riley has a shot off of a Kapanen turnover. That's saved. Everyone was throwing the body for the Canadiens. Not big hits, but just, smallest guys like Caulfield and I was trying to think of another small guy, and Hudson and Evans, they were throwing it. And even like Line, I think threw a body check at some point. I'm really glad to see everybody really buying into what Marty St. Louis said the other week about everybody needs to be able to give the body, take the body. Everybody needs to get involved in some way or another physically, and I was glad to see him say that. And the guys respond. Bolduc and Gallagher nearly convert, but Stolarz dives to make a save. That's a really good one there. Domi gets on a 2-on-1. Shot gets gloved by Montembeault. He holds. Bolduc has a good hit on Carlo along the bench, and the Habs go to a power play with 7:16 left. It's Nylander called for a high stick on Caden Gooley. Habs get some quick passing, but there's a good stick to get the clear. Habs set up. There's a shot that hurts Carlo. He limps off after a shot from Stolarz goes out. Second unit, Demidov gets in the slot for Doc, but that gets blocked. There's a line shot that gets blocked. The Habs are 0-for-1 on the power play. Tavares looks for a hit on Hudson. He avoids that. Leafs pressed with a screen by Tavares, but that gets covered. Montembeault, I thought, had a solid game. I don't think he played a great game considering the few amount of shots he had faced at this point, especially in the first. But I think he did get a bit better as the game went on, especially considering like this first goal, it was a tip. I thought Montembeau had a good game, and I think that he should get better. Obviously, I think everybody just probably had first game jitters. But I think Montembeau had a solid game, especially seeing through screens and tips. He was mostly solid at keeping up with that. Stolarz returned a puck over to Gallagher and Doc, but they just couldn't finish it. They were a little bit too calm on that, which I get. You don't want to be overly aggressive and end up costing what could be a goal and turn it into a non-goal, but you also don't want to be too lackadaisical. Gallagher has some good steals in the final minute. He really pushed for the leading goal. I thought Gallagher had a good game. Gallagher looked like he's picking up right where last season left off for him. He looks completely healthy. He looks like he really rested up any potential injuries he might have had. I think most of the guys had a good game tonight. Dobson wasn't super noticeable offensively, but I'd much rather him not show up offensively and play well defensively as a result over him being the reason for 3 or 4 goals against because he's getting really flashy. Matheson had a great game, I thought, actually. There were a few bobbles here and there, but more so just bad bounces. I thought he had a really solid game, and I think if him pairing with Dobson is what leads to him being more responsible, more than happy for that. Shots are 11-7 for the Canadiens, but it's a 1-1 tie after the first period. That's one thing I noticed. The Canadiens outshot the Leafs for a majority of this game, and I'm actually happy about that. I think that's actually a really good thing, that the Canadiens are being less selfless and a little more selfish. Just got to pick the spots a little better overall, but I'm glad to see them getting... hopefully, at least we'll see in the next couple games that they're putting up 30, 35, 40 shots throughout the rest of the season. Obviously, you don't want to be the Hurricanes from years past where, they put up 45 shots and they score 1 goal and lose 7-1. You if it means you put up 26 shots, you score 4 and you allow 2, I think obviously we'll take that, but we'll see if we're like the Hurricanes or if we're like the Florida Panthers as the season rolls along. Leafs press in the opening minute of the second. Demidov really solid at getting around Nylander. He then gets a shot off. And then a little while later, we score. Zach Bolduc on a rebound off of a really nice bounce from a sudden 2-on-1. Gallagher had shot it. The Leafs lose track of it, and Bolduc, he just backhands it home. And that's a 2-1 Habs lead. Just 1 minute, 30 seconds in. Gallagher and Doc get the assists on that goal. Hudson then creates a chance, but there's no shot for him. Evans gets one. Habs had momentum at this point. Matheson with some good defense as the Leafs would change. As Leafs charge, sorry. The Leafs charge. I might have meant change there, but I actually don't know. Habs then ice the puck. Habs with a steal after a great press after a steal. Suzuki has a look. Hudson with some good speed, but the puck just rolls on him on a kind of 2-on-1. Caulfield has a good look. They keep the Leafs hemmed in for a bit. Jackeye, though, has a blast that's held by Stolarz, and they get a change. And really weirdly, against the flow of play, Leafs tie it up. There's an awful defense by the dock line. They just can't get it clear, unfortunately. Actually, no, it wasn't the dock line. It was actually amidst a line change. Sorry, I'm looking at the lines now. I'm realizing it was in the midst of a line change, actually. So, mixed between the second and the third line, bad defense. Jackeye ends up losing a skate. Not a skate blade, but he just loses his skate. And Yarncroke would tie it up. It's a 2-2 game from Riley and Lorentz, 5:40 into the second. That sucks if you're the Canadiens, because at that point you sort of lose the momentum. But the fourth line looks good. Line A actually has a good extension of his stick to keep control of a puck. Habs do get set up, but there's any shots that there's get blocked. That was one thing the Leafs really impressed me with tonight, was that they were blocking shots. They weren't afraid to block shots. They still allowed 31 shots. That could have probably been 40-45 if they weren't blocking as much as they were. And Chris Tanev, obviously, we know he's a shot block machine. He probably blocked 45 shots himself, more than likely. Hudson has a great stick to break up a 2-on-1. He then hits a fantastic stretch pass to Demidov and Kapanen the other way. They nearly connect, but Stolarz makes a solid stop there. Off of faceoff, Montembeau has 2 good stops. He makes one save and it just deflects off him. Domi gets the second chance and that's held on to. Montembeau doesn't see a tip shot from Benoit shortly while after, but he makes a save. Montembeau gloves a Tavares shot from the right circle as he had pushed off a rush. Habs' fourth line has a good steal. Everybody gets a touch, but a pass to Laine gets taken away. Habs' top line, two skaters blow a tire, preventing some 2-on-1s. Leafs with some good sticks to get the puck. Leafs then press. Both teams got a little bit chippy. Couple hits and elbows during some puck battles. Thankfully, none of the elbows really connecting. Knies with a chance off a draw, but Monty stops that. And the Habs go to a power play seconds later as Knies gets called for a hold on Matheson. Good call. Habs get a ton of pressure, about a minute 40 straight. They get passes, great setup. Hudson and Suzuki really doing good, connecting with everybody else on that power play unit, which was Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and Bolduc. Surprisingly, Bolduc was playing on that first unit, not Demidov, not Laine. Bolduc was. He was in the slot. Slav was on the right. Caulfield on the left, of course, with Hudson and Suzuki kind of at the blue line. Suzuki was a mix of at the blue line and in the behind the net. So I liked the way they set up, but unfortunately they just didn't get many shots. Hudson ended up bobbling one, and that killed it with 20 seconds left, unfortunately. So the Habs were 0 for 2, I believe, on the power play tonight. Laine gives up a puck. There's a good hit by Carey on Domi to break up that potential rush. Puck finds Evans with speed on a rush. There's a good chance that stopped. And then Evans with a nice hit on Nick Wall. He knocks him down. You like to see that. Leafs then pressure. There's a shot stopped by Montembeau with a screen in front. McMahon to Tavares off a rush, finds a post and nothing else. Habs then push off a bouncer. Slav in front just goes wide. Matheson has a quick eye to hold a puck in at the line. Another good stop by Stolars. And then Slav and OEL in a scrum after a shove by Slav. The refs are quick to break that one up. Slav and OEL, like I said, they just kind of went at it there. That was kind of the only real blowover from any of the physicality and roughness that we had seen in the first. That was kind of the last bit of it for the game, I believe. The last minute, Dobson goes for a steak. Yeah, he just left the bench. He went to go get something to eat. No, he went for a skate, tries to wrap it around, but he doesn't finish it. So the shots are 20-19 for the Canadiens, but a 2-2 tie game after the second period. During the third period now, 29 seconds in, Caulfield has a look off a drop from Suzuki, but that's stopped. Leafs ice a puck after a new hook opportunity. Habs then ice the puck moments later. They were playing the Jays game on the Jumbotron. That's right. So in between plays, they were playing it. I think they had just shown when the Jays went up 4-1. And the Leafs fans started cheering like crazy, and I thought, "Oh shit, what's going on?" I thought there was a scrum, but no, they were just playing the Jays game, which I think is awesome. I love seeing something like that, and I hope we get that eventually in Montreal at some point. Expos returning, or whether they're a new team name, whatever it is, I hope we see that at some point. Matthews blocks a Suzuki shot. He was slow to get to the bench, but he would just be hurt. He would just be stunned. He would come right back out for what's about to happen in a moment. Habs do look to press. Demidov nearly strips Domi, and the Leafs go to a power play because Demidov is called for a slash on Domi. Habs immediately clear. Leafs press with some passing. Matthews one-timer goes wide. Habs barely then get a clear. We are 2 for 2 on the penalty kill. Habs great at passing the puck and getting to any loose pucks before Toronto. There's some good looks. Suzuki has one. Dobson has a blast that goes wide. And then the Leafs score again. It's a 3-2 lead. Somehow both Hudson and Matheson broke their sticks. I actually apparently got word it was just Hudson that broke his stick. Matheson just lost his. It's a breakaway for Knies. Hudson's actually good at getting back to Montembeau makes the save. But there's a center to Riley as Caulfield overskated his man. And Morgan Riley puts it home. 3-2 lead for Toronto. 9:02 in. Riley gets it from Knies and Michelli, unfortunately. So just bad puck luck for the Montreal Canadiens there. Leafs ice a puck halfway through the period. Montembeau then makes a great save off of a freaky bounce right to Nick Robertson. He gets across and makes that save. That was his best of the night. Props to Samuel Montembeau. Both teams getting looks. Leafs tried to extend the lead, but the Habs can't get many chances. Then we go 6 minutes without a whistle. Habs go offside with 3:59. That gets us to a commercial timeout. Slafkovsky had 6 shots. He gets his 6th shot stopped. Domi then goes the other way. There's a long wrister gloved by Monty. Habs ice one with 2:37. They needed some type of puck luck. Montembeault gets pulled with 2:30 off the draw, but nope, there was actually some confusion. Monty stayed in his net. They almost had too many men. He then goes with 150 left. Caulfield has a screen, nearly puts it home. And unfortunately, Matthews gets the empty netter with a minute 32 left off of a bad bouncer on Noah Dobson. That genuinely sucks. A 4-2 deficit. Habs will lose this one. Habs call a timeout immediately after the goal. They needed some type of miracle. Monty goes to the bench with a minute left. Habs just can't shoot. There's a bad bouncer on Hudson, who then falls at center ice. And Matthews got that goal from Nylander, I should say. Nylander gets this empty netter with 15 seconds left from Lorentz and Tavares. So Nylander had himself a pretty good night with a 3-point game for himself. Final shots were 31 to 27 for the Canadiens, but the Leafs would take this one 5-2 in regulation again, unfortunately. If you're a Canadiens fan, though, there's no need to panic really right now. I mean, again, it's first game of the year. Nobody should be panicking after the first game of the year, unless you lose a game 9-0 and two of your biggest stars got hurt in some way. That's the only real reason that you should be panicking, but the Canadiens just bad puck luck, really. Like, they were in it for a majority of the game. The only reason the score looks bad is because of the two empty netters, which, again, one of them was the leading goal was due to just horrendous luck from a stick being broken and another one being lost. Just a bad night puck luck wise. Everybody played well. I think everybody played their role. There were some moments where the defensive ability of some of the lines really didn't look that great. The fourth line, I think, actually had a really good defensive night. Even Line had again, I mentioned he had a couple good defensive stick moments with keeping the puck away from the Leafs. I think the second line could be a little better defensively. They looked really good offensively, especially Kapanen and Newhook. They look like they're going to have good chemistry for the third line in the future. But yeah, I think most everybody played well. Of course, the top line, they looked good. They collect, even though they didn't get any points tonight. I think Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky are going to have really good stretches after the first couple games, I'd imagine. Gooley and Hudson, I actually like that pairing. I thought that they played well. Gooley and Hudson together. Gooley's able to balance out for Hudson's maybe defensive lapses at points, even though Hudson, I actually think, had a decent defensive game. Had a couple bobbles, but again, especially on on the leading goal for the Leafs, he played really well, getting back defensively and doing his best to stop that one. And he had a couple strips. I think he had a good defensive stick tonight. Jack-Eye, he laid the body when he could. He didn't throw any huge hits, but the little things are what counts sometimes. Carey, I thought, had a good game. Montembeault played well. This isn't really a game where you can look at it and say, yeah, no, it's clear that we need help. This is a game you look at and say, hey, look, first game of the year, we'll get better, If you lose to Detroit, that's probably cause to raise some eyebrows, because we should easily be able to beat Detroit, but that's for tomorrow, we'll see. Yeah, that's probably just going to do it. We just got to go through the stats for the team and then work our way on out of here. It's that simple. So, Oliver Kapanen and Zach Bolduc each have a goal. Brendan Gallagher and Kirby Dach each have an assist. Pretty simple. So yeah, guys, that is going to do it for today's podcast. This is the first episode. Again, we've got 81 more to look forward to for the rest of the 25-26 season. The Canadiens record. The Canadiens record after tonight is 0-1-0. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Rice. Please do not forget to subscribe if you're on YouTube, follow if you're on Spotify or any other broadcasting network. I believe I have the RSS feed on, so we should be distributed to other platforms. Fingers crossed that we actually are, and I didn't mess that up somehow. But subscribe if you're on YouTube, follow if you're on Spotify, Amazon, whatever you're listening to this on. Leave a comment. I believe you can do that on Spotify as well, but leave a comment in the YouTube comment section. I'll get to those in the next podcast, hopefully. Yeah. Thank you all again so much for watching. My name is Rice. Please do not forget, no matter how good we were like last year, how hopefully good we'll be like this year, go Habs go, Allez Montreal, and of course, As always, if you watch the preseason ones, say it with me, boys. C'est la boo.